The internet is full of mysteries, some fake, some forgotten, and some that no one's ever explained. Welcome to the Internet Mysteries Iceberg, a deep dive through the internet's most insane mysteries. And I made this iceberg myself, and the top layer starts simple enough: mysterious stories, weird posts, and strange coincidences. But the deeper we go, the stranger, the darker, and the more disturbing the mysteries become. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel's goal is 1 million subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. I'd love for you to join the community. And now, without further ado, let's get into it, starting with Tier 1. Yvette's Bridal Formal. When people get married, it's an occasion. In American culture, where the average wedding costs over $30,000, celebrating is just as important as the ceremony itself. An American wedding typically takes place over a couple of days, made up of the bridal shower, the bachelor party, the welcome dinner, the rehearsal dinner, the ceremony, the reception, and the day after. For the actual wedding, there are just as many components to keep track of: the perfect flowers, the towering cake, the sparkling decorum, the elegant venue, and the most important piece of all, the dress. If you're living in Panama City, Florida, and happen to be shopping online, you might just stumble onto a website called Yvette's Bridal Formal. The website opens onto the famous Da Vinci painting, Lady with Our Men, being drowned in a slurry of technicolor hyperlinks. All of them lead to insanely different pages, covering different subjects but with the same sweet and slightly unnerving aesthetic: dresses and gowns, jewelry, homemade paintings. One link leads to an apple pie recipe because why not? It's your wedding after all. At first glance, it looks like someone from the 1990s coded a website and then promptly got stuck in the decade. This isn't uncommon and not particularly strange, but as you delve deeper and deeper into the page, it becomes increasingly more disjointed. In the deluge following a link called Psychological Thriller, we enter a page dedicated to, in Yvette's own words, horror, the occult, psychological thrillers, mystery, suspense, romantic intrigue, out-of-body experience, conspiracy theory, government cover-ups, space alien presence on Earth and all the juicy gossip, tabloid, paranormal, psychokinetic, ectoplasmic, ghastly, ghostly, time travel, reincarnation, fantasy, dreamscape, sensationalism, excitement that your heart and your mind can possibly stand. V8. And that was a very good description because the page delivers exactly what it promises. The majority of the links are short stories or parts of larger works, which honestly, Yvette seems like a storyteller at heart, and all of her creative works were kind of fun to read. She has a hyper fantastical style, which was fun to explore. But soon after reading her short stories, I clicked on a link called UFO in the Gulf of Mexico. At first, I thought it was just another piece of fiction, but as I continued reading, I noticed a marker at the top of the page that said true story. And upon reading it, I couldn't tell if it really was a true story. It was stylized, sure, with dramatic writing and unbelievable circumstances, but there was something different about this piece. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing as it's very long, but it's about someone on a fishing vessel who encounters an extraterrestrial spacecraft, a mothership and smaller escort craft, before falling unconscious. And this isn't the only story on the website about alien abduction. Yvette clearly has an interest in the extraterrestrial, but what prompted her to make a website to sell dresses and jewelry with photos of paintings and short stories about alien conspiracies? Well, on Reddit, we actually get some insight. A user commented, "It's actually not a joke. 4chan discovered Yvette's a while ago, and they are 100% serious alien conspiracy theorists. A couple of guys from the random thread actually drove out there and talked with them and took some pictures in front of the place. Yvette's site blogged about it later, but I'll be damned if I can find anything on that site. Apparently, they told them that they were from an online magazine looking to investigate the link between the US government and aliens, and the Yvette's people talked with them warily for a good length of time. And another comment down below talks about how the page used to have a lot more space dedicated to alien conspiracy, but it was later taken down, as the people who operate the website are aware people are browsing. But then again, these are comments off of Reddit. I couldn't find an actual address that matched up with the location listed in Panama City, so we really don't know hardly anything about the website, this woman, or what's actually going on. So is this just some crazy woman with a dress shop who doesn't know how to code a website? Or is this someone who really did encounter an extraterrestrial? Or is it all some elaborate hoax? Nobody knows, but the website remains a disorienting testament to how most places on the internet provide more questions than answers. Indian Lake Project. This next entry is an internet staple, and its inclusion on this list is well deserved for not only the mystery, but what it might reveal. On Sunday, October 2nd, 2005, a man named John created a website on Blogspot where he would write for the next 8 years. The title, Indian Lake Project. And here is an excerpt from his very first post. On July 9th, 1997, my uncle was hiking in a wooded area around Indian Lake, New York. He tripped on what he thought was a tree root sticking slightly above ground. When he looked back, he noticed the corner of this box above ground. The fact that he was far from any marked path or road and was in an area that few, if any, usually hike, sparked his curiosity. The box was sticking up by only 2 or 3 inches, and from the look of the ground around the box, he figured it had been there quite a while. With only sticks to dig with, it took him a while to pry it from the ground. The 3 shapes on the top of the box, an upside-down triangle and 2 circles, were only apparent after it was later cleaned up. The box had no lock on it and was easily opened. Inside the box, my uncle found 21 water-damaged photos, 3 8mm home movie reels, and various documents. Most of the photos are of children, which led my uncle to fear the worst, that he had stumbled upon evidence of a crime involving children. He mentioned that his blood ran cold when he began reading the documents also found in the box. He indeed had stumbled upon a crime involving children, but instead of some creeper, it seemed that these children were all a part of some United States government experimentation. Those experiments were known as the ILP, or the Indian Lake Project. In 2002, my uncle died. This box was given to me shortly before he passed away. He was afraid of the contents in the box and wished he had never found it. I feel it is my obligation to share its contents and the truth behind what had been buried for 50 years. What follows is a series of photos. 2 pictures of the old rusted box taken by John. The others claim to show the contents: a cabin in the woods, 2 army men standing beside a post, pictures of children. The claim is that somewhere in Indian Lake, New York, a secret facility was built for experimentation on young children. It operated sometime between 1952 to 1955 and may have possible connections to MK Ultra. Allegedly, there were documents in the box with names, dates, and locations, but he wouldn't post them for fear of retaliation. And on October 26th of the same year, his fears came true. Since my last post, a lot of things have happened to me, which make me believe that posting any more items from the box would not be in my best interest. I have had numerous phone calls, only to hear silence on the other end, as many as 20 times a day. My house was broken into and searched but nothing was taken. The box and its contents had been securely hidden outside of my home. I did this shortly after the phone calls began. It is obvious to me that I hit a nerve when I mentioned the documents I have, and that I was considering perhaps posting them at some point. I am no longer going to post anything. I am done. I hope anyone who stumbles onto this site will read it from the beginning and continue to stay interested in this story. For those of you who have followed this blog, I am sorry, but my family and their peace of mind comes first. As disturbing as these photos and documents are, the last few days for me and my family have been even more so, which is why I am saying goodbye. And fortunately for us, he was not saying goodbye and continued to post about the mysterious Indian Lake project for another 8 years. In 2007, he explored the facility in the woods and took photos of the creepy, rusted interior. Then, in 2013, he created a Twitter account with the intention of moving the conversation to a larger platform, but he never made any posts and disappeared shortly after. So, was this all an elaborate hoax? And if it was, why did he dedicate almost a decade of his life to deceiving us? Or was there something more sinister happening at Indian Lake? Who are the children in the photos? What are these mysterious symbols and artworks he keeps posting? And if it's all true, who broke into his home? Well, we may never know the answer, but it's one hell of an internet mystery. The hidden room. 2 years ago, Reddit user Found You Forever discovered something in their newly bought home that shook them to the core. A small room, hidden away behind a wall, with strange, gross materials inside. According to my sisters, who found the room and went through the bag, it contained a few cans of non-alcoholic beer, a tampon, pads, a toothbrush, and a notepad with only one page written on, seen in the video. There were also some adult items in the room. My sister said she also saw medicine bottles behind the wall, but she didn't investigate further. We've only lived in this house for like a week and a half maybe. It clearly sat empty for a while before we moved in. But according to them, all of the stuff in this room looks extremely old, like 70s and 80s old, so hopefully whatever cursed activities occurred in the secret room happened decades ago. Edit. This door is in my sister's closet. She hadn't been able to get it open before today and just assumed it was a normal cabinet. I didn't get a good look at anything inside the room, but I did notice that sadly, the money on the bed is just play money. My sisters guessed 70s to 80s based on the adult entertainment and the glass of, presumably, petroleum jelly they found inside. They also said that the label of the non-alcoholic beer looked super old, but honestly, I'd have to look at it to be sure that they're not just exaggerating. No idea how they got the mattress inside. My current guess is that they folded it hot dog style and just sort of crammed it in there. I'll be able to test this theory when we try to get it out, lol. My current assumption is that, like others have suggested, this was some teenager's hidey hole for their illicit goods and acts. I want to believe it's just a teenage hidey hole. I really do. But I just have a creepy feeling about the whole thing. How did a teenager acquire a small mattress to tuck into a wall? I don't know of any teenagers with spare mattresses lying around. Also, if you're just looking to enjoy the adult content, you could hide that in the wall. Why the need to hide a ratty mattress back there? Not to mention the KY jelly, the weird notebook, the secretive nature of it all. And what's scarier is that we know about as much as the homeowners do. Could it have been a squatter? A frogger? A dungeon for kidnapped victims? All we know for sure is that this is a very unnerving find. And regardless of what you think, it has succeeded in disturbing me. Tier 2. Yahoo is lying. This story begins in 2009 in Nottinghamshire, England. A man named Russell Knaggs, serving a 16-year prison sentence for drug crimes, sits in his cell, awaiting contact from the outside. You see, although he'd been captured, he was planning something big. Something that would make him, quote unquote, a shed load of dough. He took phone calls and meetings from behind prison walls, where he discussed his upcoming plastering job with his friends. Prison officials were a bit skeptical and kept a watchful eye on his comings and goings. Eventually, they came across a detailed blueprint hidden in his cell, along with a hidden SD card. What they discovered was a scheme to smuggle 5 tons of booger sugar from Colombia to Costa Rica in fruit consignment, where it would then enter the United States on a shipping container. From there, it would cross the Atlantic and land in Hamburg, where his men would collect and begin selling. On the outside, his conspirators were getting the money together for a first transfer, and were working fast to pay for the initial transfer that would make the men millions. Eventually, when their drug contact was gunned down in Colombia by a rival gang member, and the money wasn't coming together quickly enough, Nags called off the deal. It wasn't worth the headache. But investigators on the outside were already hot on their trail. Somehow, they'd come to discover the plot, and eventually, after building a case against Nag and his 3 conspirators, arrested them all, awaiting trial. Now, in order for a prison sentence to stick, they needed some proof the men were communicating, and coded phone calls weren't good enough. It had to be concrete, and they already had it. You see, meaningful communications couldn't happen over the phone, or through any chat log where agencies could subpoena the records. With a contact in Colombia, they needed a surefire way to talk without getting caught. So, the team relied on Yahoo's mailing service. Essentially, what they would do is start an email, write whatever they wanted, then save it to the drafts. Afterwards, the other members would log onto the same email, read the draft, and delete it before it ever had a chance to change servers. This, they believed, would ensure their messages would never be read. Yahoo's service couldn't save deleted emails, especially ones from an individual account, so they would be safe if it ever went to trial. Except when the case eventually went to trial, the prosecution had 6 months of deleted draft emails provided to them by Yahoo. What? The defense was quick to confront Yahoo. Yahoo claimed that the emails were auto-saved onto their servers, which is a function that allegedly exists in case of a computer losing connectivity, but this just didn't make any sense. According to their own public information, their emailing systems were not capable of retrieving deleted emails, especially 6 months of deleted emails, whether they had been auto-saved or not. So, Yahoo had to be lying. When the defense investigated, they discovered that there had been no subpoena before the trial. No one on paper had contacted Yahoo to save those emails. So, how had Yahoo obtained 6 months worth of deleted emails if their systems weren't capable of doing it? Well, they had to have been collecting them before the trial. But how? The running theory, the one presented by the defense, was that Yahoo works with an intelligence agency and has a secret means for collecting emails, either after the fact or whenever the agency asks them to start. This wouldn't require a public subpoena, but it brings about a whole other question: legality. If this is true, then Yahoo is working against their own public information, which is illegal. But with intelligence organizations like the NSA, who knows what they're capable of doing without due process? So is Yahoo telling the truth? Is this just a quirk of the system, where drafts are saved for 6 months after deletion in the event of a power outage? Or something happening behind the scenes? Are they collaborating with an organization to gather secret, confidential information? And are we, the people, being sold out? In the end, Yahoo handed over the deleted emails, the very ones Nags thought were gone forever, and they became the smoking gun in court. And Russell Nags got an extra 20 years in prison. I guess the shed load of dough didn't quite pan out. The Grand Canyon photo mystery. Our next mystery comes from user Zombie Gaddafi, who commented on a Reddit thread asking for extremely dark and creepy true stories. It reads, "Nobody knows about this story, but I will tell you, Reddit. This is about my uncle. I think it was the late 70s or 80s, I can't remember which, but my uncle is old. He's like 50 now. Anyway, he took a trip to the Grand Canyon with his friends. They were driving along the Grand Canyon and stopped near this area with hedges and brush on the side of the canyon and decided to take one of your standard funny Grand Canyon pictures. They had a really funny idea. My uncle was to stand on the side of the canyon with a fishing rod and pretend to fish off the side of the canyon, and decided to take one of your standard funny Grand Canyon pictures. They had a really funny idea. My uncle was to stand on the side of the canyon with a fishing rod and pretend to fish off the side of the canyon. So they ended up taking the picture and shortly after, packed up and drove off. So they took the role to be developed, and when they saw the picture, they noticed something very strange. In the picture, not far behind my uncle, was a man dressed in all black with pale white skin, standing there in the brush, just staring at the camera with a knowing smirk on his face. He said he and his two friends were in that spot for about 15 minutes. My uncle and his friends claimed that they did not know the man, that they were the only ones in the spot, and the Grand Canyon was vacant of tourists at this time of year. They still know nothing about the man, and the picture still exists. I will post it here if there's enough demand. I have to find it first. I think it's on his Facebook or something. Edit. Here it is. And it's a terrifying photo. I mean, I first looked at it, I'm like, holy shit, that is crazy. But anyways, I'll read the rest of his edit. My uncle is standing there on the edge of the canyon, and the black arrow points to the phantom gentleman. It is not exactly how I remembered. He's not fishing off the side of the canyon, and the guy does not have a knowing smirk on his face. Or maybe he did in the original, and it doesn't show up clearly on the scan. I saw the original when I was like 14, and apparently my memory of it is a bit hazy. I know you were thinking it was probably extremely difficult for the photographer to not notice the man, but my uncle and the photographer swear by this story. He's pulled my leg in the past, but I'm not a child anymore, and he still tells me the same story. Many members of the family have seen the picture and say they do not know the man either, and know the majority of my uncle's friends, especially the two on the trip. And for those of you who are listening, I'll describe the picture. It's a bright, snowy day at the Grand Canyon. At the edge stands OP's uncle, wearing light winter clothes, and although he says his uncle isn't pretending to fish, that's exactly how it looks. And just a meter or so behind him, up the rocks and nestled in the leaves of a stout little tree, is a figure. The figure is dressed in what looks like a black cloak with a pale white face and a plain expression. At first, I was skeptical of the photo, but upon further inspection, it doesn't make sense to me that it's faked. If you're gonna stage a creepy photo, wouldn't you put more effort into it than a figure in a literal black cloak standing in broad daylight? That just seems lazy to me. If it is a prank, it's a stupid setup, so it must not be one. But if this is all true, then who is the figure? Why did none of them notice it before? And why does it have that creepy look on its face? The sheep in the night. This next story comes from 4chan. A user posted to the X thread, which is for all things paranormal. I was immediately drawn to this story, and even though there isn't a lot of information, it's incredibly mysterious. Also, quick note, since the post was made on 4chan, the language isn't, let's call it, conducive to storytelling, so I'm doing some light editing for readability. Here's the whole post. Alright detectives, I'm gonna need an explanation real quick because I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Be me. Live in rural Denmark on a farm my entire life. Own animals, most of them being sheep. It feels really comfy. One night, hear an absolutely blood-curdling scream. About 5 a.m. Words can't even describe it. Hear 2 of these, feel a little bit uneasy, but whatever. Since I live out in the country and next to a small forest, I'm used to hearing some ungodly dying screams of animals, so I didn't think too much of it. But it was still exceptionally uneasy to listen to. Next morning, spot nothing out of the ordinary. Day after this, have electronic classes. Spot my dad dragging a sheep carcass through our back garden, presumably to the place where we bury the animals that die unexpectedly. Okay, I guess? After class, ask my dad what happened. My dad says that he has never seen anything like it. He said that the left half of the thing's face is just gone, cleanly picked to the bone. Then he posted a part 2 with a photo of the carnage and some follow-up. I go out to check to inspect the corpse. He is right. Not only did the thing cleanly eat only half of its face, cleanly to the bone, but it also devoured its tongue and its left ear. What the hell is this shit? I took a picture of my sheep. I inspect the corpse closer in order to look for the death blow that killed my dear boy. There is none. Whatever killed my dear sheep did not do it quickly. Snap a pic and check out the spot where my dad found the corpse. Get to the spot where my dad found the body. No sign of a struggle. Okay, now I'm confused. What? All I saw were a few feathers. The situation around the killing is too unusual for it to have been one of the many eagles/hawks in the area. Plus, they never attack animals of this size. If it would have been a huge fox or something, it wouldn't have only targeted the face. A fox is the only animal in this part of the country where this would even be possible. Even then, it seems highly unlikely. What do you boys think it could have been? And in the photo, which is very graphic and I can't show on YouTube, we see a brown sheep nestled beneath the runner of a wooden fence. The left side of the sheep's face is completely mangled, and just like the post said, it's missing an ear and is picked to the bone, looking almost flayed, and the wound is incredibly clean. Now, if he's lived on this farm his entire life, and he says this is strange, I'm inclined to agree with him. And theories range across the comments. Addicts, werewolves, wild dogs, cryptids, and aliens are some of the proposed attackers. The only thing we know is, he says it couldn't have been wild dogs because there are none in the area, at least none he's seen, and the lack of any death wound is incredibly suspicious. If there's no blood, and no wounds, except for the ones on its face, how did the sheep die? Why did it scream the way it did if it wasn't being injured? What's with the feathers? And what nighttime creature flayed half of the sheep's face? Tier 3. The creature in the yard. There are plenty of fake cryptid videos out there. Most of them have horrible acting or terrible effects, but at the end of the day, they lack any real substance or credibility. We find out that these videos are fake almost as quickly as we discover them. Bigfoot for the 1000th time this week, another video of some creepy skinless creature meandering through the dark, a speck of dust floating across a CCTV camera that someone claims is the ghost of Christmas past. And look, I'm not saying these things don't exist, but I do believe most of the videos we see of scary stuff on the internet is fake. I know they're fake. You know they're fake. We all know what's what when it comes to scary videos online. But sometimes you come across a video that's so undeniably real, it shakes you to the core. On Facebook Live, a man captured a strange two-legged creature running through his yard. Here's the footage.
I fucking backed over and show y'all that the picture came from in the back of my fucking yard. Let me see if I can flip this bitch around. That's the exact motherfucking spot now. That's my backyard. I'm zooming in a little piece. This is the exact spot that I just. Hold on. Listen, dog. What in the fuck?
So for those of you who are just listening, a tall, gray, two-legged figure is shown sprinting from the woods. It happens fast and in a bit of a blur, and because it's difficult to identify, people have their own theories. A waft of smoke from the man's cigarette, an emu, an ostrich. Now here's my take on each of these theories. Firstly, it's not a waft of smoke. That is not at all what this is. And it's very obviously a creature of some sort. I'm not trying to discredit the possibility, but for me, it's not happening. Secondly, the man in the video lives on the East Coast. If this is an ostrich, then there's just an escaped ostrich running around the eastern United States, just taking a quick jog through some guy's backyard. I will admit, when the footage is slowed down, it does kinda look like a large ostrich or emu, but at the same time, I also live in the eastern United States. And not only have I never seen an ostrich, but if an ostrich was in someone's backyard, it would probably be on the news. At the very least, we'd have heard about it. Personally, I think that it's some sort of cryptid, some mysterious creature that emerged from the woods and disappeared just as quickly. But then again, I don't know. I'm actually really curious about what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments because I want to believe this is just some sort of large bird, but I'm not convinced. The hidden drawer. In 2018, a user named Chris, who worked for a secondhand shop, posted about a mysterious furniture piece on Facebook. The post reads as follows. Found in and under a drawer of a donated desk. Edit. It was donated to the store I work at a few months ago. Pics were taken, but I don't know if anyone followed through with a report. It was sold later that day. On the inside of the desk, written in permanent marker, is a note. The truth is under. And when the drawer was removed and flipped, a startling message was revealed. The body lies at, followed by a set of coordinates. Now the Facebook group she posted the images to, which hosts 3.5 million users, was incredibly disturbed by the writing. Where did the coordinates lead? Why had someone scribbled this cryptic message onto a desk? And what was all this about a body? Was someone killed and buried at these coordinates? Facebook got to work, contacting local authorities and posting the image to Reddit. Apparently, the coordinates pointed to a spot on a nearby Florida Air Force base, where bomb testing was often done. This was very interesting to me, and to many thousands of internet sleuths. The original post was made in Florida. The desk was found in Kissimmee, Florida, which is a city nearby to where the desk was found. So somebody had scribbled a secret message onto the inside of a desk in the hopes that someone would see it and find this spot on the naval base. Why the accuracy? If it were a prank, why not just put in random numbers? Why go to the lengths of finding the actual coordinates for an actual naval base if something wasn't going on? And the police were rightly concerned. But there was a problem. With the coordinates being inside of an Air Force base, local authorities had no jurisdiction to investigate. And although Reddit posts confirmed that police were making their way through the red tape and were planning on getting approval, but no other updates were ever published about the case. For the past 7 years, it has remained dormant. So, who wrote the mysterious message? Did the police ever investigate? Was there ever a body found or a missing person ever linked to the case? Why are there absolutely no updates from anyone about this case, including their local police department? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and find out. In the meantime, I've reached out to the original poster to see if she has any first-hand information regarding the mystery. But after 7 years in limbo, I doubt anything has changed. If she does reach back out, I'll be sure to update you all in the comments. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved. The M Cave Mystery. Alright, so if you're chronically online like me, you've probably heard of the M Cave mystery and the disappearance of Kenny Veach. It's a very popular story, and for that reason, I almost didn't include it in this iceberg. I try my hardest to find unique stories, ones that haven't been covered a lot on YouTube, so that every story, no matter how unreported, gets the time and respect it deserves. And with that being said, after careful consideration, I think the M Cave mystery is too unbelievable and too unsettling not to include. For those of you who aren't familiar, here are the details. Kenny Veach, a long-distance hiker from Las Vegas, had recently come across a strange cave. Located near the Nellis Air Force Range, it was shaped like a perfect capital M, and when he approached it, his entire body began to vibrate, and the vibrations got more and more intense the closer he got. He commented about the experience on a YouTube video about Area 51, and people encouraged him to find it again and record his findings. The comment has since been deleted, which is incredibly strange. And what's more strange is another deleted comment we'll cover in just a minute. Anyway, he goes out to find the cave and records the journey. In the now infamous YouTube video, he scans the desert, walking us through his original journey and commenting on the last time he encountered the cave. I didn't have a sidearm when I was here before, and something about the cave just spooked me. He encounters some wildlife, a black ram up on the rocks, and a little desert tortoise. It's a peaceful, bright day, a little overcast, perfect weather for exploring. What Kenny also tells us is that this is no easy journey to find this cave. It's a 10-hour hike, and some of the places he needs to navigate can get very scary. At the end of the day, he couldn't find the cave, so he decided to return home to post this YouTube video and plan for his third trip. People were encouraging him to go find the cave, excited to see this mysterious, mystical landmark he describes. But one user commented something different. Though the comment was deleted, we have record of it, and it said the following: "No, don't go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. If you do, you won't get out." And unfortunately, he never did. His girlfriend reported him missing in the days following his third journey to find the cave, and a search party was sent out for him. His cell phone was discovered near an abandoned mine shaft, and that was it. Nothing else of Kenny Veach has ever been found, and today, he is presumed dead. But investigators are confident, based on the location of his cell phone, that he had reached the area he intended to find. So, what happened to Kenny Veach? His girlfriend believes he may have committed S-word, as he suffered from depression, but his fans have some different theories. Whether or not you subscribe to any of the numerous theories, the question still remains: did he find the mysterious M Cave? And if he did, what transpired that day? What terrible thing happened to him that he's never been found since? And will we ever know the answer to his disappearance? And alright, now onto the final tier, Tier 4. Disturbing voicemail. Okay, so this one isn't particularly long. It also comes from Reddit. But guys, this one got me. When I was researching, it was like 2 a.m. And when I heard this audio, I genuinely just had to get off my computer and go to sleep. It was that creepy. And I do this for a living. Anyway, here is the original post and the audio he provides. User Brendan Gaming 95 writes, "Got the most unsettling voicemail I've ever heard. So last night at like 3:17 a.m., I was sleeping at this time, I got a call from a number of the same area code as me. And when I checked my voicemail, I heard some weird growl talking at the start, then a heartbeat. Then it started talking in some NATO phonetic alphabet, then that one whisper AI voice. When I called back the number, it was just a normal guy that picked up, so I'm assuming someone spoofed the guy's number, but I am very disturbed by this. and I have no idea who this could be or if this is some sort of prank. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is the nightmare fuel. And quick warning, it's creepy as hell.
30 minutes left. India Tango Sierra Space November Echo Victor Echo Romeo Space Tango Oscar Oscar Space Sierra Oscar Oscar November.
Yeah, fuck that. I just listened to it again. Actually, the most terrifying audio I've ever heard in my life. I'm looking behind me now as I'm recording this. I'm like terrified. But anyways, so what was it trying to communicate to the user? What's the context? Well, beneath the original post, we get some answers. One commenter speculates the beginning says 30 minutes left, but what about the NATO alphabet? Well, the message says India Tango Sierra space November Echo Victor Echo Romeo space Tango Oscar Oscar space Sierra Oscar Oscar November. That translates to it's never too soon. Then there's the whispered speech, which when reversed, reveals a strange message. Let's see if you can hear it.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Look out.
It's a little difficult to make out, but the reverse speech is a quote from Dawn of the Dead. It says, "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth." So, is this some elaborate prank? Well, when Redditors asked if it could have been the man on the phone pranking him, OP insisted it was an elderly man who was confused at having received the call, so this is unlikely. So, who wanted to send this message so discreetly? They hijacked an old man's phone number. Who has the resources to do that, and why? Whatever the case is, it is incredibly disturbing. Ruth's 911 call. This one has been circling around the internet for the better part of 2 decades, but it's existed well before that. Sometime in the 1980s, an elderly woman named Ruth called 911, reporting a strange man outside her home. At first, the man went around the back of her apartment, saying he was looking for someone, and then he said he was looking for an apartment. This audio has been used in first responder training for decades. The reason being, the operator never asked for the woman's address, and in a real-life situation, like Ruth's, this could mean the difference between life and death. And today, there's a standard that all 911 operators are trained to follow. But for Ruth, she wasn't so lucky. Now I'm going to play a clip, but I've taken the liberty of editing it because the phone call is so deeply disturbing, I don't feel right sharing the full thing. Here's a small portion of the full phone call.
What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, there's some guy been checking the place out. How? Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy. And he comes to my door, and said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. Mm-hmm. Where is he now, ma'am? I don't have no idea.
And what follows is about 30 seconds of blood-curdling screams, a struggle, and then the line disconnects. A couple of years ago, when I first listened to the audio, I was of the understanding that the woman died in the attack, and the man was never found. But apparently there was some conflicting information. It turns out she was never confirmed dead. Okay, so did she survive? Well, over the years, Ruth has apparently been killed in the attack, survived the attack, was hired to fake the attack, or the attack never existed. What I believe to be a disturbing 911 call turned out to be a full-blown mystery. She wasn't confirmed dead because she was never confirmed real. The truth is, nobody really knows anything about this woman or the phone call she placed. Even the policemen who are trained with the audio know absolutely nothing about it. Nobody knows where it came from, or when, or how. Just that it exists. What we do have are many conflicting theories. Most believe it happened sometime in 1980, but then again, who knows? Some Redditors think they found her, like this user, and I just want to shout him out for how much work he put in. But some of his conclusions still don't perfectly fit the case. So how did this happen? Well, somewhere down the chain of command, I guess the information just got lost. And now all we have is one disturbing phone call and a massive amount of unanswered questions. Personally, I really hope she survived, as per the last Redditor's theory. But we just don't know for sure, and we'll probably never know. Hopefully, Ruth got to live a very happy life after that phone call, and no more burglars bothered her ever again. And alright guys, that was the Internet Mysteries Iceberg. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel's goal is 1 million subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And if you enjoyed this video, please check out some other videos on the channel. I'm sure you'll love the channel, and I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means the world. And this was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.